some of the contact process. If you don't know about me, I'm making videos about systems in chemistry and in electronics, all this kind of stuff. So let's begin. First of all, from the previous week, I mixed up some 2-component epoxy and glued the electrodes in, and also reinforced the base of the pipes and the inlet and the outlet so the sulfur oxides don't corrode the metal lid there. This is going to buy us some time. Filling up the chamber with sulfur powder, then placing it on the hot plate to heat it up and get it to temp till it liquefies, and then we can ignite it. After connecting the electrodes, realizing that I don't have enough sulfur in the chamber and thus I cannot really ignite it because the end of the electrodes and the arc doesn't connect with the liquefied sulfur layer, so needed to open up the jar and then fill and top up the sulfur even more. After putting in more sulfur and it liquefied, then I had to adjust the electrodes because they were making the arc in a different position from where I wanted to, basically up the line, not at the ends of the electrodes. Then I was able to create the arc at the end, at the desired place.
I've added this extra tortilla dip, so basically this is a backflow regulator, so if there's any pressure build up there and I release the pressure there, so basically unplug that, and then that's gonna cause the pressure from here to basically go there, and then here on this side the pressure in the jar still remains, and that's gonna cause the sulfuric acid to basically come back to the lid into this bottle rather than to the catalytic chamber and wash out the vanadium compounds from the wool. So I didn't record it because I was working with both of my hands, but as you can see, as I connected up, significant amount of sulfuric acid backflowed, and that was basically the reason of this jar, which is working pretty nicely.
Here you can see the system running at around 370 degrees temp, and it's running quite well, although this is probably on the low end side on the temperature, probably going to increase the temperature up above 400 degrees into the optimal range of producing SO3 from SO2, but as you can see, we are producing quite a nice amount of white gas. Although after this, I just said in the video that thank God we are not letting out any white mist, and after saying that I came back 50 seconds after that and just saw the exact same thing that I have said that was not happening. So basically conversion wasn't on the right amount because probably of the low end temp, so going to fix that in the upcoming weeks. The pipe just corroded, and this was just after this run, so the whole system ran for like an hour. With the sulfur burning it was like 50 minutes or something like that, and after shutting it down and wanting to restart it an hour later probably, as you can see, the silicone pipe corroded so much that it basically fall into pieces, and I just saw that the pump's pressure just blew this little white dust all over the place, which was basically the pipe inside. For this to be fixed and resolved, I will make the same arrangement in the sense that I put the electrode into the pipe and then lead the electrode into the catalyst, but not after, but before the catalyst chamber. So then a lower temp will be measured, but this way the silicone pipe will last longer rather than after, because these sulfur trioxides are more aggressive than the not yet converted sulfur dioxide, and thus the pipe will last longer before than after the catalytic chamber. So what's up? This is the unfiltered section, and I'm going to talk about why you can't do the work or why it feels like a slog. This is quite a recent story, but I wanted to change and go from watching videos in my free time to basically reading books and gathering knowledge and like writing notes and then using those notes, taking actions on them to implement into my YouTube videos in terms of like chemistry, and also in terms of like actions that I can take day to day. And it felt like a bit of a struggle, and still is kind of, but I think it got better in the sense that I can read more. What I mean by this is, why you are feeling like, let's say, reading for me is a slog, because let's define here like a terminology. It's kind of bro science, but we have like a baseline. Dopamine, if you don't know it, dopamine is the molecule of more, and it is the molecule of anticipation. What this means is that when you are working towards something, let's say you are reading towards the completion of a book, you get dopamine. But when you finish, your dopamine runs out, it ceases to come in. Basically, you don't get it anymore. If you watch a video, that's the same thing. But I would say, if you do a lot of things, let's say in a monthly period, I will talk about periodization in a next upcoming video. But what I wanted to say is that what you do in your free time usually, let's say in a month, that determines and sets you baseline dopamine. That is going to be, let's say, we define, this is like a random number. When I'm watching like a long format unedited video, it's like 500 dopamine points per minute or second, whatever. And then when I read a book, it's 300 per minute. And that was 500, this is 300 per minute. And the main reason is that because this dopamine, the watching videos, is the usual, so this is the baseline, and from the baseline the 300 is lower, and when you do this in your free time, this feels like a slog. This feels like, not painful in that sense, but it's not that enjoyable. It feels like an uphill battle, I would say. And you will eventually quit, or I will eventually quit. Give it 20 minutes, maybe 2 hours, whatever, depending on which time of the day I do. In the morning, and probably everybody can read for longer or do these things, even work for longer. Then in the evening time, when you are lower on the fructose and your brain basically gets fatigued throughout the day, you will be able to concentrate less and then be able to read less or do work less. So to counter this and to basically get myself the act of reading, the basic attack of my free time, if that makes sense, I reduced the dopamine that I get from the other things. Basically, in my free time, I would like to set the baseline from 500 to 300 in the sense, or maybe even lower. Just sit around, do nothing basically, to set a lower and lower my baseline. Basically, take out the habits, and also take out the habits that dilute your dopamine points up with highly stimuli and basically a lot of dopamine. Porn, video games, watching movies, watching series, eating junk food, all this stuff that are hyper, or maybe taking drugs if you are that low down and you are starting out. Those things really increase your dopamine baseline in your free time, or in your basically day-to-day life. And when you are not obligated, you will be left with a baseline that is like high. Then thus these good habits will feel like a slog. And this is why I not just try, but I'm cutting out watching series in totally. Maybe when I'm in a fun time, let's say work 3 weeks, then have one full week when I can watch as much series or bullshit I want, or maybe less, like 3 or 4 days. But we'll talk about the periodization in the next upcoming video. I don't dilute my baseline dopamine up. And as if I didn't tell, this is going to be a really bro science video, but whatever. So by cutting out and also increasing the time that I read, this can be work for you or any other good habit that you want to get consistent in. Increasing the time and basically progressively overloading from each time to another, we can increase the duration of reading or working that we would like into a threshold that will eventually become like a good amount, and let's say we will be able to level up until like reading 3 hours or 4 hours if you have that much free time, and that is going to amount to a lot of good things if we take like smart notes and we basically have an insight, write down an actionable step, or think about that action, like later on come back, think about an actionable step, and then do it into my YouTube videos, basically into the chemistry side, or just the day-to-day life when I can do some hacks or that, or some actions, some habits. But I think this is good. Yeah. What I wanted to say is that even long format videos and unedited stuff, at least for me, did dilute my dopamine up, and I reduced my reading time, and thus not unable, but like as I said, felt like a slog reading an uphill battle. And even videos are diluting it up, so trying to reduce that even down to a minimum of like 30 minutes, or maybe like at max like an hour per day, which even sounds a lot, but or maybe even less. We'll see. We'll try out, and I will come back and update you on this matter. Thanks for watching. If you found value in this video, then like, subscribe, whatever. Other than that, see you in the next one. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.